As we discussed throughout some of these videos, we come back to one key practical aspect of what is required of leaders, or at least innovation leaders as we define them. That's ability to master both ends. We know that within any organization and any leadership development, there is linearity, and you need to address that. You need to understand linearity, and you need to understand when you're going to venture beyond linearity. Both and is the practical implementation of how you deal with linearity. In one sense, you are today based on what you did in the past. Your current business is running. Your current business is what's going to finance the future. The current business might not be the future, but still it's there today. It has to be managed. So that's the both part. You have to manage your current business in the most effective way possible. You need to implement the innovation to kind of keep refining it so that it's fresh and it's up to date in order to be competitive within the existing framework. At the same time, you need to start developing new business opportunities or new business ventures that has the ability to challenge your current models. That's the and part. As a leader, you need to be able to look ahead. You need to be able to predict the game. You need to be able to actually dictate the game in the future, not based on preserving what you have today, but knowing that what you have today might in 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, depending on your industry and the change rate, it might not be relevant anymore. It might be dead. Then you need to initiate starting something completely new. Also knowing that the completely new is going to work against your own linearity. You're not going to be able to go in there and manage that new part because you lack that experience. Your experience will force you to do the wrong thing. If you go and look at some of these examples, we have some Scandinavian examples. You have SAS versus Norwegian. Now, if you look at SAS, which was a huge airline company in Scandinavia, fairly successful at least up into the 90s. Big company. Now, around 2000, they started to struggle. And they saw that the low price initiative, like Norwegian started launch a couple of years later, they started to come into the market. Now, SAS had all the knowledge necessary to understand that the market could change. They had consultants that could tell them that the market would change. They could look at Southwest Airlines in the United States and see that the market actually changed in the United States. So they had all the necessary knowledge in order to see, okay, this might change. Now, still, with all this knowledge, and even if they start to experiment low price airlines, for some reason, they were not able to actually enter the market. So more or less since 2000, SAS has been struggling, and the only reason why SAS as a company they actually exist is because of the owners have been the state government that has kind of protected the company. As a normal company in a normal business market, SAS most likely would have been bankrupt by now. And Norwegian, which is the low price company, would more or less have taken over the position that SAS had in the market in the past. So it's not because SAS didn't have the knowledge, there was something else. That was the ability to actually understand that the market could be fundamentally different. I'll take one of the examples we sometimes use in this regard when we talk about, okay, imagine you are sitting in the top management group having an innovation board in 1999. And this guy, 30 years old, comes up and they say, okay, we're going to launch a low price concept. 6 years from now, we are going to have an airline that can fly you from Oslo to London and back for 700 NOK. And we're still going to make money. We even are able to fly people for free. And we're still going to make money in total. At that time, the price round trip to London was probably around 3,000 to 4,000 NOK. Now, most leaders would reject that idea as something ludicrous, can never be done. If we could do something like that, we would have done it a long time ago. We would already implement it in our current business. Forget it, can never be done. You can never fly London Oslo for a round trip for 700 NOK. Now Ryanair proved that they actually could do something like this. Norwegian actually then proved that it can come close to the same type of price level. So they proved that it can be done. So that's the challenge of leaders. Somebody proposed something that at the face value can look almost ludicrous, can look completely unrealistic for you, because when you use your experience, the way you have operated in the past, there's no way that you can actually meet those requirements. That's when you need to have the ability to step out of your own linearity, your own comfort zone, and say, okay, how do I evaluate something like the Norwegian SAS case where I cannot utilize my experience? That requires training. And training that leaders today don't get. They don't get hands-on training, practical training, because they're never faced with those type of solutions or those type of proposals or decisions. Now, implementing a really good innovation framework will give you that training. Build those capabilities where you start by incremental to platform and eventually breakthrough type innovation. That is a skill set that needs to be developed over years. And that's what we are doing with our companies. That's what we will do with our clients.